All right, so I want to present a few ideas about how to read Catwalk a bit better. Uh, there's a lot to this pattern that is obviously RNG based, but there are a lot of elements to it that really have no RNG going on at all. So I think that I'll start this analysis by talking about some of the so-called static elements of the pattern, and also maybe demonstrate what I'm aiming to do as ReimuA to kill this pattern and also survive the popcorn hell coming up next. Because I don't just kill Catwalk immediately. There's a tiny bit of waiting that I do before finishing it off. So let's look into what I'm doing in some of these caps or failed caps. All I've already recorded maybe around 30 attempts earlier, and I'm just going to be discussing some of what went wrong and some of the failures, and try to talk about some of the ways that I'm balancing macro dodging, bottom hugging, moving up, etc. So let's take a look, first of all, at the structure of the pattern and elements that are reliable across any attempt. So, yeah. Let's take a look at how Orin moves, first of all. So, first ring, okay, a little faster than I was expecting. So, maybe the first thing I want to mention is that across every attempt, the way that Orin generates the rings is exactly the same. Um, so, where the rings spawned from in this video, it's always the same every single attempt. So, let's go back a bit. And maybe I'll pause and unpause a few times. All right, so here's the first ring spawning from there. So it starts mid left, mid center, mid right, top center, and then a little higher left. Now she's going back to mid center again. Mid right, lower mid center, low left, low center, low right, and then she's gone. So let's go back through this again. So mid left, then she's gonna. So one thing to note about what makes this pattern really tough um, is that the way that she spawns the rings in is more or less designed to make the pattern get tougher as the wave unfolds. So if you'll look, um, as I mentioned, so she's initially going to move up, actually, right? So she does this, she's going to generate this first ring here, and then you're going to see that her next few motions are going to be moving up, right? So she's going to go from this mid left, up a little bit center, up a little bit right, up center, and now she's going to start moving down again. So now, why would this necessarily make the pattern harder? Well, if you think about it, the rings are going to unfold. The rings are going to start moving a set amount of time after they spawn in. So because she moved up at first, you're going to have a little bit more time before the next ring reaches you. So the first few waves of Catwalk you're going to have a little more extra time to react to them. And of course, the reason that so my argument is going to be that the hardest dodge you're going to have to make in any wave of Catwalk is going to be the very last one. And the reason for that is, well, let's see where she's spawning, right? When you get to the very last three jumps of Catwalk, she's spawning in bullets at the near the bottom of the screen, and she's still well, okay. And she sort of does this like down, up, down thing, uh, which is, I guess, better than fully moving down. But uh, yeah, it's quite tough because you have very little time to react, and there are going to be some areas near the bottom of the screen where there's some nasty overlaps, possibly even of 3 rings at once instead of just 2 rings. So maybe now let's start looking at what a structure of a kill is going to look like. So I don't want to get into any dodging at all yet. I just wanted to explain how the rings spawn in. They're going to spawn in the exact same way every single time. Though I should say, this works for the first wave of Cat's Walk. The way that it swaps around is based on even or odd waves. So odd waves are basically going to be mirror images reflected through the left to right, basically. So the nice thing about being ReimuA is that I will not have to ever dodge the part of wave 2 at the bottom of the screen. So the way that I'm going to kill Cat's Walk is I'm going to have to do a full first wave, and then I'm going to aim to finish off the pattern just a little bit after the second wave begins firing. So usually around once she gets back to the center of the screen is when I would finish the pattern. Here I am a little bit rusty, so and I don't end up shooting at the end. So let's see how this goes. So, and here what we can see is that I got into a scenario where basically 3 rings are about to overlap at once, and that's the kind of situation we want to try to learn to avoid. So because I'm rusty and hadn't totally forgot to start shooting again, I died there because I don't know how to deal with the triple ring overlap of the second wave of Cat's Walk. Because again, I learned this with ReimuA. I don't really know very well what how to. I don't know as well how to deal with the even numbered waves, but in principle, anything that I'm saying about the first wave can be applied to the second wave. You just gotta sort of take mirror images. But let's look at this. Let's look at what makes the spot that I died in so bad. So, and maybe, yeah. So, okay, you can see that these are the initial waves that are coming, but okay, here's the really bad spot, right? I get myself into an area where I have 3 rings moving at once, and they're moving from a low position, and I'm in a bad spot, so I get, I am not able to react in time. Okay, now let me fast forward a little bit to some actual kills, and we'll see what I'm doing here, and then I'll start talking about the actual dodging of the pattern. Okay, so you can see that the first thing that I'm doing is damaging her as she moves, but I don't follow her all the way to the right for the last jump. Okay, and now I'm following her again after the first wave ends. I wait a little bit. I use sound cues to know, like, that she's about to die, so I stop shooting her until she reappears in the center again. So what I'm going to be doing here is so a sound cue is going to appear when her HP is really low, and that's when I'll know to stop shooting during the second wave. Right, so she's spawning the second wave now, and then as I follow her, I'm doing damage, and then I stop shooting. And then, as soon as she gets back to the center, I'm focus firing, finishing her off. The reason that I do this is it gives you a few extra seconds to basically delay popcorn hell. So for ReimuA, if I were to kill her as soon as I possibly could in Cat's Walk, then I would lose maybe 3 seconds or so. And by doing that, that could possibly fill the screen in the post mid boss section, and it could get really nasty. Whereas, as I was saying before, so let's look at how much of the second wave I actually have to dodge before I do the kill, and we'll see why it's a good idea to do this. So okay, so this is wave 1 finishing up. Now I'm damaging her during wave 2. And okay, so let's see. So I had to dodge 1 wave, 2 wave, 3 wave, 4 wave. So if you notice, those first 4 waves that I had to dodge were the result of her moving up, right? So as I mentioned before, the first few movements that Orin does when she spawns in a wave, she's moving up. So those are going to be the easiest dodges that you're going to have to make. You have the most time to react to the bullets out of any of the overlaps and crisscrosses throughout the entirety of a single wave.